you know.
And that's the reason why I always groan when I hear people say this is a handheld because this is a hybrid and it's not the best of both worlds.
Well, I mean, the thing is that the Switch, like the way Nintendo is treating the Switch, they're treating it more like their handheld than a console, and that's just the way it is. Okay, you can't wishful thinking isn't going to change the reality. Nintendo is treating the Switch more like the DS or the 3DS than a home console, which kind of sucks. Because I mean, you would think with Nintendo unifying their development, you would think that they would be putting out more first party games for the Switch, and yet they aren't. I mean, new first party games. I don't mean ports of shit that came out last gen. Um, but it is what it is. Anyway, we're live with another episode of BS Busters. I'm joined by um, Jewel and Kenoshi. Who wants to go first?
Huh. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, to the Best Busters and the Week podcast. I am Joe Riley, Elon Moonstar, welcoming you to the last one of this month. And
Yeah.
oh boy, why do I keep on having to talk about this beep again?
Well, I mean, it's all been but confirmed, but I still like the people keep on calling it the Switch Pro and are hyping people up and like, yeah, it's gonna have all these features. I'm like, no. I mean, at most the price will go up and this new hardware revision will be $350 or maybe $399 tops.
Yeah, I keep having to use a hammer to bash these rumors down, and I keep
You know.
on popping up.
So anyway, Kenoshi.
It's Kanashi Abominito saying that the Switch Pro that everybody keeps hyping up is probably more likely going to be like the 3DS XL.
Or the
New
new
3DS
3DS.
XL.
Yeah, the new 3DS.
Yeah.
Which I have a
That's the
new
reason.
3DS, but I mean, it doesn't do anything any substantially better than the old 3DS.
Yeah, yeah. It's just going to be a minor upgrade.
Yeah,
Nothing spectacular.
yeah. This is Mr. Red Fox, owner and proprietor of BS Busters. So we have a few topics on the docket today. The first one has nothing to do with the Nintendo Switch hardware revision. It's J.J. Abrams, one of the architects of the Disney Star Wars trilogy, admits what we always suspected, and some of us knew.
There was no idea in the trilogy, was there?
They had no fucking plan whatsoever.
Oh, I was hoping they at least had a start of something.
No, there was no plan.
It was not even a start. Oh
No,
God.
no, they didn't even have a whiff of a plan, a fart of a plan, if you will. The Nintendo Switch hardware revision that everyone keeps on talking about. We'll give our thoughts on that and what we suspect it may or may not be. And finally, our third topic will be games that could have been contenders. In other words, franchises that should have had or could have had a bigger presence. And I'm just telling you right now, I'm going 3 games that I think could have been bigger, but we'll get to that when that topic comes up. We also have some free topics where we'll give our thoughts on other things. But let's dive into it first with the Star Wars news. As we always suspected, there was no plan. There was no fucking plan. No plan.
I'm not surprised. I'm more disappointed because I at least hoped that there was at least a seed of a plan.
No, there was no plan. And I mean,
that's what makes it worse.
watching all 3 of those movies, yeah, no shit.
Yeah.
I mean, it was clear to
Yeah,
me
well.
that The Force Awakens was a shittier version of A New Hope. The Last Jedi was a inversion of Empire Strikes Back, and Rise of Skywalker was just some shit. It was a Frankenstein movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
I knew it was. I knew there was no. I knew that everything was going to F on episode 8, but knowing that there was nothing to support episode 7, Yeesh.
I think it started with 7 because if you take a step back, like when 7 came out, it had been. See, I think Revenge of the Sith came out in 2001. No, it didn't come out in 2001. Revenge of the Sith. Let me look this up. Revenge of the Sith.
If anybody was wondering, Revenge of the Sith is episode 3.
Yeah, that was the last Star Wars film that had a fucking plot. So that came out in 2005. So Revenge of the Sith came out in 2005, and so basically, I mean, I hate to say this, but let's see, The Force Awakens. So The Force Awakens comes out in 2015. So it had been a decade, okay? So basically, if you're a Star Wars fan, it's like you haven't had sex in 10 years, okay? Even mediocre sex after 10 years of not having any feels great. Okay? But in hindsight, once you've actually, processed the event, you're like, that was some mediocre sex. And The Force Awakens was mediocre. The Force Awakens was literally A New Hope, but with gender-bent characters and recasting of characters. So, like Luke Skywalker gets split into male and female characters. Rey is the Jedi part of Luke Skywalker, the Force user, and Finn is the farm boy, aw shucks, part of Skywalker. Han Solo becomes Obi-Wan Kenobi. Poe Dameron becomes Han Solo. Chewie gets to say the same. He's the only character who gets to be himself. BB-8 was supposed to be the new R2-D2, but like Star Wars fans were like, I like the original.
Beep and ball out of here.
I like the original R2-D2.
And also one extra thing.
And Kylo Ren was the new Darth Vader.
I was gonna add one more thing. What the heck are those little things that Chewbacca had to be slapping out of the...
Yeah, the Porgs were in The Last Jedi. They weren't in the first movie.
I was just being sure because, if anything, I was wondering, what the F?
Yeah, there were no Porgs in the first movie. But in The Force Awakens. But anyway, so basically, yeah, it started with The Force Awakens, where instead of coming out with something new or original, like literally, okay, the original, in A New Hope, the rebellion has to get together, has to get a crew together to get the plans to take out a planet-destroying super weapon created by the Empire. Now let's look at the general plot
So that's episode 4
of The Force Awakens. Okay, the rebellion has to get together, has to get the plans to take out a planet-destroying super weapon made by the Empire. led by a plucky young person who gets a crew together, led by a wise old man who knows all types of secrets, who dies tragically while they're trying to fight their way off of super planet-destroying super weapon. Yeah, they totally were original with that movie.
Yeah. Then they copy episode 4.
I mean, literally, there's a part in that movie where Han Solo says, "It's another Death Star." And the dude's like, "It's not another Death Star." Yeah, it is. Come on. Look, Harrison Ford gave the game away. Okay? And so they basically regurgitated the same shit we had. Now, I know a lot of people, I don't like the prequels. I'll tell you right now, the prequels aren't great, but at least they had...
make a lot more sense than the sequels.
Well, they had a unified vision, and it was a story that needed to be told. Now, did George Lucas tell that story in the best way? No. But damn it, it was a story that needed to be told. This is, like, this bullshit under Kathleen Kennedy and J.J. Abrams.
Oh, boy.
Like, they made 5 movies that Kathleen Kennedy was the overarching arch leader for.
Ion.
and only one of them was, in my opinion, critically and commercially successful.
The Mandalorian, hopefully.
That's not a movie. That's a TV show.
Uh-oh.
I said films. So yeah, only 5 films. Rogue One, Solo, Force Awakens, Last Jedi, and Rise of Skywalker. 1 film out of 5. Let me put it this way, okay? If you took a class and you only have of 20% success rate, that's an F. All right?
Yeah.
Kathleen Kennedy gets an F, okay? Because only 1 film is actually worth watching. And that's Rogue One. And had it been up to Kathleen Kennedy, that would have been fucked up too. So, I mean, you know, Solo, I mean, like, Solo, okay, like, Solo should have been a Disney Plus series because, like, I saw the movie because I read the Han Solo trilogy, and literally they lift so many fucking beats from those 3 books. The Young Han Solo trilogy, which tells the origins.
They crammed it all into a movie.
Yeah, they crammed it all to a movie, and the only way you could tell the Han Solo story properly is if you did it as a TV show. That's the only way you could really do it. Maybe like 8 episodes a piece, 3 seasons. Probably like really the best way to really do that. Trying to cram all that shit into a movie, not a smart move. So they fucked up there. Because, you know, Kathleen Kennedy so wanted to make the guy who played Han Solo in that show, she wanted to make him into the new Indiana Jones, because Harrison Ford's getting too goddamn old to be playing Indiana Jones. Which is true. He was too old in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, but we kind of just, you know, we kind of let it go. But, like, he's really too old to be playing Indiana Jones now.
If they hand the torch off to somebody else, our stars help that person, whoever it is.
The only game that I could think of, I mean, the only, well, I'm not gonna keep on going into it. Anyway, so yeah, so essentially speaking, Star Wars under Kathleen Kennedy has just been an abysmal mess. It's been a mess. The only way I could see Indiana Jones working now is if you do a movie where Indiana Jones, like you basically kind of like, has everyone here seen Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade? Mm-hmm. The one with Sean Connery? If you basically have Indiana Jones play the Sean Connery role and have someone younger play the person he's passing the torch to. That's the only way you could pull it off, where he's not doing a lot of physical stuff.
Yeah,
he's just passing it along.
That's the idea.
That's the only way I could see it happening. That's the only way I could see you, because, like I said, Harrison Ford's too goddamn old, and I mean, look, for his age, he's still like able to do a lot of shit, but he's too goddamn old. All right, he's just too goddamn old. All right.
Yeah, it's a better version of what happened to some of the characters in War. I mean, Endgame. Only better.
Yeah, but I mean, like, those people didn't really age out. They killed them off because Marvel got tired of paying them loads and loads of money. Like Robert Downey Jr. just showing his face for 5 minutes and into that Spider-Man movie got like $50 million. Just for a 5-minute shoot. So, you know, that was a money decision. Okay. And I'm pretty sure they got tired of playing those characters. But I'm just saying, you know, like Disney's Star Wars has been embarrassing and bad. And I don't care what anyone says. What?
And I said that's putting it lightly when you're looking at only the movies.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, I would say that. I mean, and here's the thing: I'm not one of those people who's like, yeah, well, uh, how dare you, you son of a bitch, I'm not being misogynistic when I say this, but Kathleen Kennedy needs to be fired. Okay,
Yeah,
she needs
not
to be fired
not shoved to the
hard.
side, not given no jobs at all. Effing
Fired.
fired.
Yeah. She needs to be fired. And here's the thing: there are some things that Kathleen Kennedy has worked on before she was put in control of Star Wars that she actually did well on. But just for how she fucked up the Star Wars franchise, she needs to
You
be
would,
fired.
yeah, I wouldn't trust her with some things, and the
Well,
Star Wars wouldn't be. It would be one of them.
I mean, there's some really good movies that she was an executive producer on. So, like I said, I can't say that she hasn't produced good things. But, and just in terms of Star Wars, she needs to be fired.
Yeah,
Um, and I'm not saying like an embarrassing firing where it's like you dehumanize someone, but just like kind of like a you got to go. You
yeah,
you know.
yeah. And no, this is not sexism. This is a business decision.
Well, it's competence, right? Like here's what I've noticed about a lot of the IPs that have just not really done that well. Is that they put people in charge of these IPs who have disdain for the IP and disdain for the fans of the IP. And how the fuck are you going to make something successful when you have utter disdain for the people who made who created it, who helped propel it into being a popular thing? Like,
Yeah,
like I've never seen a property where someone who had utter disdain for the source material made something good out of that property. Like, like the Super Mario Brothers movie. Everyone knows that movie is terrible, right? The people who made it had never played a Super Mario Brothers game and didn't really understand the IP. So why is
and they
anyone
were hard,
surprised
and
that
they're
it was
heavily drunk on it too. So, oh
yeah,
boy,
why would
that was a
anyone be
mess.
surprised it was a piece of shit, you know? Um
Yeah.
it's kind of interesting how people just fail on multiple levels. Everyone remember Dragon Ball Evolution? That steaming pile of dog shit.
Did you have to remind me of that?
Well, I went to go see that because I am a Dragon Ball fan. But here's the thing: I didn't pay to watch it. I watched something else, and then I snuck into the theater to watch Dragon Ball Evolution. I didn't pay to watch that movie. This is when I was broke and I didn't have a lot of money. Okay, sue me. But anyway, so I saw Dragon Ball Evolution, and I looked up afterwards, and it turns out that the person who directed that movie had never seen any of the TV show, hadn't read any of the mangas, didn't consult anyone about it. Like he had watched maybe like 2 episodes of the series.
Two?
Not Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z. so so this is the person you would get to make a movie about Dragon Ball, which, as someone who's a fan, Dragon Ball is very different from Dragon Ball Z. The power levels that exist in Dragon Ball are manageable. The power levels in Dragon Ball Z are broken as fuck.
I was gonna say, it's broken as F at the Frieza saga.
Yeah, well, no. Towards the end of the Saiyan saga, it gets broken as fuck. Like
Dang.
once it reaches the point, like once you get once
Over
you,
9,000 joke.
no, once you get to the point where Nappa can basically destroy an entire city with one attack and not be damaged whatsoever, the power levels are just broken as fuck. Like once they introduce Saiyans, Dragon Ball Z falls apart. Like the power levels get so high that it just falls apart. But yeah, like we've seen so many things where they had people who had utter disdain for the IP working on it, and it just fell apart. And so here we are with Star Wars, where you have someone who doesn't give a fuck about the franchise and who has an agenda and basically has utter disdain for the fan base. And people are surprised that Star Wars fell apart.
Ended up like that?
Yeah.
I was surprised it didn't fall into atoms when it hit episode 8.
Well, I mean, episode 8 was like, okay, like I said, Force Awakens, it's like my analogy I said before, it had been 10 years between people having sex. So even if it's mediocre sex, 10 years, okay, it's great. But The Force Awakens was when people were like, this is not very good. This is mediocre sex at best. You know, I feel embarrassed about how bad this is. and then The Last Jedi, which was just like, now this person isn't even trying. They're not even going through the motions. They're just laying there.
It's like you're having fun with a corpse, and that's scary in its own right.
Yeah, basically, yeah, it's just a corpse. But yeah, so Star Wars had no plan. This confirms it. What are your guys' thoughts on it? Kenoshi, you were very quiet. You have any thoughts on how Star Wars how J.J. Abrams has confirmed what we all suspected, which is they had no fucking idea what they were doing?
Well, I mean, I think Star Wars, at least the films, needs to take a hiatus for probably in 5 to 10 years. And, give it the old college try, and this time actually have a plan. Actually get people who are into the source material to run that franchise.
Yeah, I think they need. I don't think they need to stop making Star Wars properties, but I do think they need to lay off the fucking movies. Not for 10 years. Like, let's say 5-6 years.
Yeah, I mean, they can keep making the TV shows because it seems like the TV stuff is doing fine. But yeah,
do TV shows like live action and animated. Do video games. Like, do what they did in the lead up to The Phantom Menace, where, because remember, people forget, between 83 and 98, 15 years, there were no new Star Wars movies. Everything was just television, video games, like keeping it in people and re-releases of the old movies. That's all we had. And yet, because I was born in 86, I didn't watch the original Star Wars in movie theaters, but I'm a Star Wars fan. Want to know why? Because they re-released the movies and I played the video games and I read the comics and I read the books. That's what they need to be doing with Star Wars right now to rehabilitate this shit. And put someone in charge who actually fucking cares and that doesn't have just an agenda. Now, to be fair, I have nothing against films that have an agenda in them. Okay? Because if you watch the Indiana Jones movies, those are agenda films. Especially the first one and the third one. I mean, like, they're like, oh, well, fuck Nazis. That's all they're about. They're about, basically, if you have something that's old and has a lot of history to it, it needs to be in a museum. And 2, fuck Nazis. That's the thing you learn about from Indiana Jones movies. That's propaganda. Okay? But hey, they're also good movies. So no one's like, how dare they talk about how historic artifacts need to be in museums and how dare they disparage Nazis. Like, no one's going to say anything. But if you're going to make a shitty movie and have an agenda, fuck you. And that's what happened with the new Star Wars films. The Force is female, which I would have been cool if the Force had been cool, but the Force sucked. Rey inexplicably can defeat someone who's been training with a lightsaber for years? Come on, man.
I mean, stuff I've heard about the books and stuff I've seen from some of the cartoons is way better than the cinematic stuff they've been pumping out.
Yeah, that's true.
In my opinion.
You are correct. You are absolutely correct. like I said, they needed to have people in control who actually understood and loved the franchise. If you don't understand or love the franchise, you don't need to be in charge of it. Okay, and if you have utter disdain for the fan base, you really don't need to be in charge of shit.
Yeah.
And and that's where I am with that's where I am with Star Wars right now. Is that it's just been a series of people taking control of the franchise who and not just Star Wars, because Warner Brothers has the same thing. Warner Brothers has the same problem with their DC movies. Is that they can't, like, Zack Snyder had utter disdain for the source material in terms of the characters, not the graphical art of it, but the characters. And it was like, yeah, no wonder you don't know how to make a good Superman movie, because you don't like the idea of there being a character who is just good because he wants to be. He tries to do his best for his fellow man. Um, it's just, his best is a little bit better than, some average guy with no superpowers. That no, a character like that could never exist. They have to be like a overarching god who has disdain for humanity. Like, the idea of having that type of superhero would never occur to him, because to him that just doesn't exist. So maybe Hollywood could learn their lesson, but probably not. Apparently,
That's probably,
yeah, fans not buying, because there's like warehouses full of Star Wars merchandise that no one wanted to fucking buy. That came from The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi and all that shit. So, because the real power of Star Wars, the movies did well, but the real power of Star Wars has always been in merchandising. Okay, and if you can't sell the merchandise, no, go ahead.
The thing is, it's like a lot of people complain the fact that you criticized Star Wars because they had a female lead. It's not the fact that they had a female lead; they had a badly written female lead.
Yes,
if it was a badly written male lead, it would just be
it would be just as bad. It'd be just as bad. Like Rey having the ability to be a better pilot than Han Solo, when she has never piloted shit, is bullshit. Rey being a better lightsaber duelist than someone who has been using lightsabers ostensibly for over a decade or more is bullshit. Rey having the ability to use Force abilities that take years of training with absolutely just on a whim, is bullshit.
And having even healing powers with the Force is without even having skills in it.
My point is this. It's not that Rey is female. It's that Rey is a poorly written character who they basically.
I was gonna say she's a Mary Sue reimagined.
She's a Mary Sue character exponentially multiplied. It's like Superman is a Mary Sue. At least it's like Silver Age Superman's a Mary Sue, where he basically has a new power for whenever he needs to.
I mean, seriously. Mary Sue characters like Rey F.U. Skywalker can.
Well, she's not a Skywalker. She's Rey Palpatine. And they were so lazy they couldn't even create a new villain. They've reused Palpatine in 3 fucking trilogies.
I swear, at the end of that trilogy, like it was like, Were these people watching Naruto and Avatar: The Last Airbender? That's
They
some
they
of the
use
stuff they were
okay.
doing.
Like I said, the prequel trilogy, it makes sense that Palpatine was behind the whole thing because Palpatine, his whole like the prequel trilogy is like okay, you see how messed up things are in the original trilogy. Like, how could this fascist regime blow up planets and no one's saying anything? They've got these space Nazis going around destroying towns and bulldozing people. How could this get to this point? Okay, the prequel trilogy shows how it got to that point. And you know, like really, like the first when I saw the Phantom Menace, I didn't know what was going on until like at the very end you see Chancellor, not Chancellor, Senator Palpatine. And I'm like, "Oh, Senator Palpatine. Okay, I see where he's going with this." Everything clicked by then. I was invested. I saw because I knew at the end of Phantom Menace, I was like, this is not going to end well. Like Anakin Skywalker's like in the second movie, yeah, me and Amidala, we're gonna be together and it's gonna be great. I'm like, this shit's not gonna end well. it was basically like a movie version of Rogue One, where like from the start of Rogue One, you're like, yeah, none of these people are gonna make it out of this shit alive. You're all gonna die. You know, it was the journey, not the it was the journey and the end result, not the people going on the journey. But it was terrible. They failed. Let's move on to the next topic. Unless you guys have anything else you want to add before we move on to the next topic. Anything? Anything?
I think
Anything?
we ran it over enough.
Okay. Then speaking of, so now we have to talk about the other elephant in the room, which is people continuously going over the Switch Pro, the Switch Pro, the Switch Pro. Who wants to jump in first?
Well, I mean, would it shock me if Nintendo came out with a Switch Pro that, you know, with something like the PS4 Pro or the Xbox One X, where it was somewhat more powerful than, you know, maybe 1.5 to probably 2 times more powerful than the original console? Probably not, because we live in weird times as it pertains to Nintendo
Yeah,
and consoles in general. But is it likely? Probably not. It's probably just gonna be a minor upgrade like CPU speed and maybe a Tegra 2, which isn't significantly more powerful than the original Tegra. I think somebody was explaining it how the Tegra 2 actually just has the ability to have more shaders or whatever. But
yeah, I think you might
yeah,
see like a point 0.5, 0.25, like a quarter to
yeah,
maybe 50% increase. It's just, is that
yeah,
quarter to
possible.
50% increase in better screen resolution worth the 50, 60, 70, maybe $100 bump in price? Because you know Nintendo's going to nickel and dime the shit out of people for the upgrade. If that's the case.
Yeah.
Jewel, you have an opinion?
I honestly was trying to hold my tongue because this keeps on bugging me to no beeping at an end. Switch Pro might be something that is going to be the new Switch, or the new console, or the new handheld. That's a hope, anyways. But if people are expecting a new full console that has the same high fidelity powers of the PS5 and the Xbox Series X,
Oh, no, that shit ain't happening.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen.
that's what I was about to say. Thank you very
No.
much, boys.
No, that. No, that. I don't think anyone, even the most ardent Switch Pro shippers, really think that that because okay, if you had a handheld, if Nintendo came out with a Switch hardware revision that had power that was comparable. I'm not even saying the PS5 or the Xbox Series X. Even if it was comparable to the Xbox One and the PS4, you'd be spending $600, $700 on a handheld, and they price themselves out the market. That shit ain't happening. I mean,
that's the thing. A lot of because I know a trend now is a lot of these PC handheld consoles that have been coming out lately, or that are that are in the works. They're almost $1,000 for the
yeah.
base model, and they're not really necessarily running top of the line hardware. It's just there's a lot more there's a lot more you have to do as it pertains to cramming that sort of power in such a small form factor. So yeah, it would be like $600-$700 if they did something like that. That ain't gonna happen.
Yeah, it ain't gonna happen. Like Paul Newman said in the Sin of Money, kid, it ain't gonna happen. Do I think Nintendo will release a hardware revision? I mean, the Switch at this point is 4 years in, and the sales numbers are starting to go down a little bit. So a hardware revision might, pop it up a little bit, get people get people to buy it, get people who were like, yeah, I want something a little bit more powerful to buy it. I don't think, unless they do some really awesome shit, I don't think it's going to be really
impressive.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be really impressive. I don't think, like, I don't think it's going to be really, unless they do something amazing with it. I don't think it's going to be really really powerful. I also don't think that the people who are like, yeah, it's going to be able, there are not going to be any games running on a Switch hardware revision that are going to be really running all that substantially better than they run on the original Switch, especially in docked mode. So get that shit through your head. This hardware revision is primarily aimed towards people who want a little bit more oomph in the handheld mode of the Switch. I think. I don't have any inside sources, and Nintendo's been doing some weird shit lately. All throughout the Switch's console gen, but that's my opinion. But what do I know? I'm just some guy. That's my Asian name. Just some guy.
I was about to say, you're just some guy with a YouTube channel.
Just some guy. That's your name? Yes, I am just some guy. Anyway.
Funny enough, that's a YouTube channel too.
Yeah, just some guy. Oh, I should make a YouTube channel called Just Some Guy. That's just my opinion. I'm just some guy.
Oh God, I'm just telling you this right now. There's a YouTube channel that's already named that.
What? Just Some Guy?
Yes.
All right.
Look it up.
I'm not looking it up. I'm just gonna go with it. Anyway, that's my opinion. Anyone else have anything else they want to say about it before we move on to the next topic?
I hope this rumor mill of a ends with the Nintendo Switch Pro stuff.
I hope it's true, but I hope it doesn't have anything that these fuckers want. Like, they're like, yeah, it's going to be able to pay. It's going to be comparable to the PS4 and the Xbox One. It's going to be so powerful. And I'm like, bruh, if it's going to be comparable to, if it's going to be basically be built around the Switch's handheld nature, then unless you want to spend like $700, $800, I mean, I personally would not buy a console for $700, $800. $350, $400, maybe. Above that, hell no.
Yeah, I mean, that's how we ended up with $699 US.
Yeah.
Oh, God, that's jeez.
But anyway, that's my opinion. Let's move on to the next topic. If everyone's done.
Yeah.
All right, we'll move on to the next topic. The next topic is near and dear to my heart, which is these are Well, I chose. These are. The topic is games that could have been contenders. In other words, franchises that should have and could have had a bigger presence. Could have been either a game, one or two games that could have been part of a franchise, or just a franchise that was on the cusp of being big and just was mishandled. So, who wants to go first?
Rocket Knight.
Oh, that's a good one. I agree. There was like 3 games in that franchise, and
it got it had a revival attempt, but
that was trash.
Boy, that was a mess.
That revival attempt was hot buttered ass.
Yeah, that's the thing. The revival attempt and the original trilogy kind of shot itself in the foot.
Well, the new game, the problem with the new game was that it was 2.5D instead of cell shaded, which is what the original game was. Like if they had gone cell shaded or even like 60 like a hyper upgraded 16-bit like we're getting now. You know how now we're getting new games that are basically like hyper upgraded 16-bit or 32-bit stuff like that. Nah, we got to do 2.5D. And it's like some things look good 2.5D. Other games, no. 2.5D for some games is not a good thing. But, it is what it is.
I at least had that on me easily.
Anyone have any? Do you have one, Kenoshi, where you're like, man, this could have been a big game, but they fucked it up?
I mean, aside from the obvious, mainly as it pertains to public opinion, the release of Cyberpunk 2077, the amount of hype surrounding that game, and the amount of hopes and dreams that people had as it pertained to that game.
I agree.
No, I'm gonna go with yeah. They were.
I was gonna say,
were
they dashed
completely. And Destiny is another game that comes to mind. The amount of hopes and dreams, and what people thought that game was gonna be.
Well,
completely and utterly destroyed.
Yeah, but in both of those cases, the people behind those games, there was no reason for those games to not be what they should have been, aside from, in the case of Destiny, Bungie had to get something out, and like the guy who was the architect of the story left, so they had to get rid of all his work instead of paying the dude and keeping what he had there. Because there was no excuse for Destiny to be what it was when it first came out. There was no excuse for that game,
being that mess of a mess.
Well, it wasn't like a bug-filled mess. It was just the game was not what was shown off. Because what they basically, the guy who wrote the story and had the plot and everything, the guy, Destiny was looking like it was going to be like a take on Star Wars. We had speeder bikes, and there were raids. It was going to be like the evolution of the Halo formula, with a dynamite single player and a multiplayer. It was going to be awesome. And then what came out was basically just kind of like a MMO light third person shooter.
Yeah, and we know how MMOs usually turn out at times.
And Cyberpunk 2077 had a lot of hype, but I mean, really, what really hurt that game is that they essentially put out a 5, 6, 7 year game they put out in 4 years. So,
Which is both impressive and scary at the same time, I think.
It would be the equivalent of someone said, hey, you have to do a 50-page research paper, okay? And it's due in 3 months, and then you wait 2 days before the shit's due to get started on it. Yeah, don't be surprised that paper is going to be fucked up. Okay? All right? Don't be surprised. Don't be like, hey, I can't believe this paper was shit. You know, I can. You know, that's basically what CD Projekt. I mean, not to that level, but I mean, a lot of corners were cut in order to get something out. And when you cut corners to get something out, you're typically speaking
There's
not
gonna
going to
be
put out
people that
something.
notice how cut the corners are, right?
Yeah, I mean, because it's just not going to be. It's not going to be to where it needs to be. But since you're going with Cyberpunk 2077 and Destiny, I've got three. The first one is Chrono Trigger. Chrono Trigger is arguably one of the best 16-bit RPGs of all time. I put it. It edges out Final Fantasy VI because Final Fantasy VI had the backbone of Final Fantasies 5 and 4 to fall back on. It was part of a franchise, so there was an established formula. Chrono Trigger is completely new. It's a new IP, and it's fucking amazing. Then they made Chrono Cross, which if Chrono Trigger
Enough said.
if Chrono Trigger is a solid like 98%, Chrono Cross is like an 83. It's not terrible. Now let's be fair. Chrono Cross is not terrible. It's not like the jump between Paper Mario, any of the
Sticker
first
Star.
three. Well, any of the first three Paper Mario games and Sticker Star. Like any of the first three Paper Mario games, even Paper Mario, Super Paper Mario, which I'd say is a C grade game. It's not terrible, but it's not great either. It's like a C. It's a solid. It's like a 80. It's like an 8180. It's a solid C. It's not terrible, but it's not great either. But compared to Sticker Star, it's like an A plus game. Well, the problem with Chrono Cross to Chrono Trigger is that Chrono Cross is so good that Chrono Cross has to really like
Step up its game.
and it couldn't do it. It like the magic was not there. And you know, like ever since then, Square Enix is basically just, you know, aside from re-releases of Chrono Trigger, which they kind of fucked up the re-release on PC because they ported over the mobile game to PC instead of the original
Mobile version.
console
Oh,
version.
God.
Yeah, it was a fucking mess. Like,
At least the DS one did the console version, not the mobile.
well, it did the PlayStation console version without the loading, but I don't like the PlayStation version of Chrono Trigger with the extra shit they added to connect it to Chrono Cross. But yeah, Chrono Trigger has basically been mishandled by Square Enix, and I would say that Square Enix, like the only person that I can really blame are the IP holder in this case. It's not a case of misfiring. It's just Square Enix has just fucked up the Chrono Trigger franchise. And it's kind of sad because, I mean, I'll keep it real. Chrono Trigger could have been the new Dragon Quest. I mean, not taking the place of Dragon Quest, but another like hardcore, a semi-hardcore JRPG franchise that could have brought in a lot of revenue and gotten a lot of fans on board. But no, they couldn't do that.
Yeah.
They fucked that shit up.
I was about to say they sunk that boat.
Yeah, they sunk that boat, and then they went to the ruins that were underwater and blew it up again. My next game that I think could have been a contender, could have been great, Skies of Arcadia. Now, I love this game. I have the version on the Dreamcast, and I have the version on the GameCube, and I like both of them.
Are you going to put it with the Sky series or just Skies of Arcadia in general?
Skies of Arcadia is its own thing. It's not a series. It's just one game.
I was remembering it's the Skies of, that's the series.
No, it's there's no series. It's just called Skies of Arcadia.
Okay.
Yeah.
I need to check that real quick sometime.
Yeah, there's no series in Skies of Arcadia. It's just the game series. The game is called Skies of Arcadia, and then the one that they released for the GameCube was called the Skies of Arcadia Legend. but it's basically it's the same game.
I was saying that you can understand where I'm coming from, since I thought the series was called Skies of.
No, it's not a series. There's no series. It's just the game is called Skies of Arcadia, and then they released the one that they released on the GameCube was called Skies of Arcadia Legends.
I get you.
But anyway, yeah, Skies of Arcadia. Sega had what could have been a great RPG franchise under their belt, and they fucked it up. That's all I can really say. Because Skies of Arcadia was made by the same team that made Phantasy Star 1, 2, 3, and 4. And the cool thing about that is that, you know, if you followed the Phantasy Star series, each iteration got better over time, right? Like Phantasy Star 1 isn't really that good. Phantasy Star 2 is better than 1. It's like 2 is like a better version of Phantasy Star 1. Phantasy Star 3 is its own thing, but it's still pretty good. And Phantasy Star 4 is great. I would say Phantasy Star 4 is maybe on par with, you know, Final Fantasy 5, which is high praise. But then all of the stuff that they learned from all those games, they put together to create a love letter to JRPGs, Skies of Arcadia. And it's great. Like, Skies of Arcadia is one of the best JRPGs I've ever played. I mean, it's got great characters. It has a main character, Vise, who is, like, he has the shonen qualities without being annoying. You know, and it has characters who follow the tropes of JRPGs without being, you know, hackneyed and played out. And it really should have been a franchise. And for some reason, Sega was like, no, we can't do that. Which is sad because I would love a Skies of Arcadia too. Like, Skies of Arcadia should have been like that Legend of Cold Steel series that Falcom has, where it's like 7-8 games in, and, you know, like it tells one continuous story between multiple characters over time. But no, one and done.
Oof.
So that was kind of a missed opportunity for Sega, I would say. And my last game that I feel just could have been a big thing and just for some reason wasn't, Metroid. Now, Nintendo kind of tried with Metroid. I think the height of Metroid's popularity was like in the mid-aughts, where you had Metroid Prime 2, and, you know, Fusion and Zero Mission. Since then, Metroid's just been kind of
going 3D.
Well, not even that. It's just hasn't been... Nintendo hasn't really put any real effort behind it to really get people excited about Metroid. Which is kind of sad because... Like, there's things that Nintendo could do that wouldn't cause them any real money that could make Metroid into a really... get people excited about Metroid again. So, but where do you guys go? What do you guys think about it?
I think you're right about that. It's just that it feels a little off that you're saying it's Metroid that might have been cheaped out.
No, allow me to explain. The reason I said that they're IPs that have either been mishandled, ill-treated, or just plain ill-used by the IP holder, or had misfirings in games coming out. Like, I would say that Metroid Other M and Federation Force were misfirings, but also Nintendo hasn't done things to really drum up excitement about Metroid. Like, there's an entire Metroid manga that gives the backstory for Samus and why she hates the space pirates that they commissioned in Japan never came out here in America. You can read it if you go on MetroidRecon.com and read the translated manga. That's the only way you can find out about it. Like, why should people have to go through all that changes when Nintendo could just pay for a translation and bring the shit over?
Say, this is one of those Japan-only exclusive moments.
Or hey, they want to make Metroid into a bigger franchise, which Metroid has the potential to be a big franchise. Get Netflix or Hulu or Amazon or some other to do either like a manga, or not a manga, anime, or like a live action show where it doesn't even focus on Samus. Samus might appear in the show like in the last episode or the second to last episode, but really it like just expands the universe and talks about life, because the only real that's one of the hallmarks of the Prime series is that it expands the universe and shows that there's other shit going on aside from just Samus running around fighting space pirates. There's people living their lives, there's cities, they're colonists, they're people, there's life goes on. There's other shit going on there. Do something like that. No, just, like I said, Metroid could be a bigger franchise and people would be excited about it if Nintendo would actually put a little bit of, if not themselves, just pay somebody to do it or license it out to somebody with someone over it, like giving them guiding it a little bit. And here's the thing. If they did a Metroid anime, I hope it would be PG-13 or even R, because like if you play any of the Metroid games or, 2D or 3D, even though like Metroid Prime was rated T for teen, and Metroid on the like the original Metroids the original Metroid didn't have a rating system, but I think by the time Samus Returns came out, it was rated E for everyone. But really, those games aren't really for kids. Like there's some really there's genocide in those games. There's a lot of murder.
Thank you, Samus. You wonderful bounty hunter.
Yeah. In Metroid Prime 2 Echoes, she friggin' genocides an entire species. An entire planet. She just wipes out all the species. Even creatures that were just minding their business, not doing anything, dead. Samus is a war criminal.
G-rated?
Yeah, this is not for kids.
Death.
Yeah, well, the game was T for teen, but if you really think about it, it's like this is not kid stuff. This is horrific. But
yeah,
it's for everyone. But anyway, that's my but that's my thing. I just not really, like I said, these are all IPs that could have been bigger if either the IP holder, actually was maybe more in touch with the fans, or maybe just pushed the IP more or gave it more exposure. I don't know. Anyway, Kenosha, you have any other thoughts before we move on to the next topic?
Nah, no, I'm good.
All right. Next and final of the official topics, Warner Brothers Interactive will reportedly be split up following the merger. It's a mess, but but not all of Warner Brothers Interactive Studios will go to the new company. So, basically, it's just a mess. Because they want to have their cake and eat it too. It's like, well, we keep Mortal Kombat, but you guys get everything else. But there's a whole bunch of shit that Warner Brothers Interactive
own and are keeping
that make money. Yeah, like those Lego games. Warner Brothers Interactive publishes those games and makes those games, and they make money.
Yeah.
But whatever.
Yeah. just keep all the good properties in one pocket and offer something meek.
Yeah.
At least that's what it sounded like to me.
I mean, the thing is this. Clearly, AT&T didn't know what in the hell to do with Warner Brothers Interactive. Because I remember last year they were like, "Yeah, we're gonna sell Warner Brothers Interactive." I'm like, but don't they make like billions of dollars in revenue with their games? Yeah. Why would you sell something that can make you billions of dollars? That's like me selling my bar, not the actual like building, but like literally the part of my bar that lets me pour drinks and shit. I'm gonna sell that, but that's how you make most of your money. Oh fuck that! I'm not. I'll make money on the food. That doesn't make any sense. That is stupid.
I was gonna say, isn't that Yamcha kinds of fail?
Not Yamcha level, but it's basically it shows that the people in AT, like the people who are in charge of making decisions at AT&T, you probably have multiple management teams who aren't communicating with each other. There's no unified vision, okay? And if you have a company where you don't have a unified vision on where to go and where to take things, you get shit like this.
I was gonna say, wasn't that the Star Wars?
Yeah, partially, yeah. Kenoshi, you have any thoughts before we move on to the next topic?
No, I don't have any thoughts.
All right.
You must be meditating.
Nah, he's playing
What's
video games. Finally, Biomutant. I have played about a little over 16 hours of the game. Just want to give my thoughts on it. Defend it a little bit because some people are like, this game is terrible. It's the worst game ever. It's boring.
Whoa. Excuse me. Did I hear that right?
Yeah, well, some people have been saying that. Not everyone. It's got mixed reviews.
I just feel like a lot of the stuff that other games should get a pass for, this game doesn't get a pass for. So.
I mean, here's what I'll say about the game. For people who are saying that it's boring and it seems like it's like, look, okay, the beginning of the game starts with a tutorial. Once you get past the tutorial, the game starts opening up. But here's the thing, okay? In order for the game to really open up, you have to gain abilities that let you do things. It's like, hey, I want to go into that desert area. But guess what? You don't have 100% resistance to
certain elements.
High heat. So you need to either up your resistance or go find the heat-proof suit. It's like, hey, you go to the aquatic area and you want to friggin'
explore.
Well, you need the
dive suit.
Well, no, for the aquatic area, it's like you need the jet ski. But like the jet ski, like there's some areas that are heavily polluted, so you need to upgrade your jet ski so it can actually go into polluted waters because the engine's not powerful enough to go through the choppy, polluted water. So it's kind of like Legend of Zelda where it's like, okay, I can't go here yet. I have to upgrade this so that I can come back and go here. And that's just how it is. There's some areas you have to upgrade. There's some things you have to do. I've only gotten like 3 vehicles in the game. I've gotten a beast that you can ride like a horse, but it's not a horse. I've gotten the jet ski and I've gotten the mech. And the mech is awesome.
Cool is that mech?
You can destroy ruins of buildings. You can run people over. You can stomp motherfuckers with it. It's great. I've only upgraded it like less than half though, because there's 13 mech boxes that you can get to upgrade it, and I've only gotten like 5 of them. So yeah, I got to find those mech ton boxes so I can make it to a badass fighting robot.
And no, he's not going to go Gundam on the entire world.
No, but apparently there's like an airship in the game that you can get and upgrade. There's a lot of vehicles in this game, okay? And I want to get all of them. There's a lot of stuff going on. I will say that some of the side missions get a little bit overwhelming as you go through the game because, like, you'll go someplace and you'll step into an area and they're like, hey, find 3 of these things. It's like, shit, why are you throwing this at me now before I even find the first thing? And that's kind of annoying. And the narrator kind of comes in. He's always talking. He's like, "Hey, you need to get with it." I'm like, "It's a video game. I have all the time in the world to save this world." But overall, it's pretty good. The combat is fun, especially once you unlock your special moves, like unarmed combat, where you kick a dude in the air and Rock Lee his ass. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
Must be priceless to do that.
It is fun. Like the combos are really fun, and if you do the thing where you fill your meter of your three super combo meter, and then go into super Wung Fu mode, where you basically can just rush up to dudes
Super
and
move.
beat the ever loving. It's basically like Devil May Cry. Just run up to a dude and beat the ever
I thought
loving
you were
shit
going
out
to
of
do
him.
Raging Demon on him.
Basically, that's what you do, except you can see every hit, and it's not like you don't see shit. But yeah, the game is better than people have been giving it. Now, I will say this caveat: I've been playing it with a trainer, which skips a lot of the tedious shit. But I mean, like, here's the thing. No, go ahead, Kenoshi.
Yeah, yeah, same here. And quadruple my XP. That's how I've been playing it with the trainer as well. And yeah, I think if I wasn't playing it with a trainer, I'd probably have a different opinion. But
yeah. Well, triple your XP. Oh man, that's that is wow. You kind of broke the game a little bit, dude. I went 2.
Yeah.
I went 2 times my normal XP. I'm at level 43 right now, and I'm just I'm living my best life, beating the shit out of random people.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know. Hey man, don't come rolling up on me because I'm gonna kick your ass, and then they start some shit, and then I gotta kick their ass. That's just how it is. Start shit,
Those
get your ass kicked.
Those poor monsters. You guys are gonna make them extinct.
But here's what I'll say about this game. For people who are shitting on this game but praised Breath of the Wild, this game does shit that Breath of the Wild apparently they couldn't get done. For example, this game does some shit like you can get a horse in this game, well, a horse-like creature, and you can ride the thing into a river and it doesn't fucking drown immediately and die. Now there is an energy meter that like kind of goes down, like your stamina while it's in the water, but I mean still that's much better than Breath of the Wild. Look, your horse gets in the water and it gets too deep, it's dead. It's like, what the fuck is this shit? Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. There's actual dungeons in this game. They aren't like really, really, really long, but they are interesting and fun. You do get unique items that can be used to go to other areas. You aren't given every special ability in the beginning of the game. You actually have to earn shit and unlock shit.
I was about to say, if I remember right, Legend of Zelda gave you only showed you the basics, but you basically had everything on your hand, right?
No, Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild, you basically got everything in the beginning of the game.
That's how I was wondering.
Because when you're on the Great Plateau, once you leave the Great Plateau and you have the 4 runes, you can essentially go and fight the final boss if you so choose. So basically, everything you need, you're given at the beginning of the game, which is fundamentally flawed, in my opinion, for a semi-open world game like that. But, whatever.
Yeah, I was trying to be careful of how that turns out. because I was remembering that the Breath of the Wild gave you with basically everything in the tutorial, but there was no real extra skills to gain unless you count the bag.
Well, I mean, you could. Um, I mean, you could theoretically upgrade your runes. You could upgrade your runes in the game, but by doing the
Mm-hmm.
by doing the Zelda Megazord, by clearing the Zelda Megazords, you could upgrade your
Yeah.
runes. But like the some of those upgrades were more of a pain in the ass. Like the upgrade that you got for clearing the Goron Megazord,
Ooh
the
boy, yeah.
shield would fuck up your ability to perfectly block blast with your shield. Because if you didn't do it quite right or the timing was a little bit off, it would automatically do that thing instead of letting you. Because sometimes if you blocked a little bit late but still kind of got the timing like a little bit, you could still do it. But if you had that thing and it was filled up, it would automatically block it and mess it up. So, I mean, some of those abilities were not as good. Like
It is well.
the only ability that was like this is awesome all the time is the one that you got for clearing the bird Megazord that lets you do the super jump. Cause I mean, once you got the hang glider, you figured out how you could basically start fires and create thermals. The game got so much easier. It broke the game. The hang glider broke the entire goddamn game. It's ridiculous.
Which is kind of funny, because that's the first thing that you gain.
Well,
And
it's the last thing you gain on the Great Plateau.
okay, it's one of the first. I was saying it's one of the first things that you gain, besides the basic equipments.
Like
But yeah,
the first thing you get is some shitty items, and then you have to go through the 4 shrines to get the 4 runes, and then at the end, you turn in your 4 orbs at the Hylian Temple, the Great Temple, the ruins of the not like the ruins of the temple on the Great Plateau, and then the ghost of the King of Hyrule comes and gives you the glider, and then he's like, yeah, you gotta glide off the Great Plateau and get the fuck out of here. Go defeat Ganon. It's like, thanks a lot, old man. But yeah, this game really doesn't do that to you. You actually have to earn shit. Going into certain areas. Going into certain areas in Biomutant before you're ready, you will get your ass kicked because you're not supposed to be there.
strongly.
Yeah. But there you go. Anything else anyone else wants to say about it? Kanoshi, anything you want to say about it? Since you have the game?
No, I haven't gotten too far into it, but yeah, I think it's pretty decent. I don't think it's as bad as people are making it out to be.
All right. Okay, fair enough. Yeah. So yeah, like I said, I put a little over 16 hours into it. I've been enjoying it. A lot of the complaints I'm hearing from people, oh, the music is repetitive. I'm like, I mean, when the music's there, it's pretty good. I mean, it's not memorable. Hell, it's better than the music you had in Breath of the Wild. That non-existent people banging on a fucking piano and calling it music.
I was about to say, that was one of the weird things. It was mostly ambient noise.
Yeah, a lot of
Excuse me if I
ambient.
word in there.
Yeah, a lot of ambient music, but I don't like ambient music. I like, if I'm playing Legend of
You like-
Zelda, I want that epic you know,
You want
old
that
schools.
theme.
Yeah. If you can't do that, then get the fuck out. But, whatever. Anyway, like I said, Biomutant is better than it has any business being. The complaints that people are giving it are, in my opinion, most of them are overblown. There are some legit complaints that I could have about the game. I think I'll save my legit complaints for Wednesday for Biomutant. I'm not going to talk about them. I'm not going to, because, I've only put a little over 16 hours into it, and I'm not at the point where I think, I can give you one complaint. It crashed on me once. Once.
Okay.
So.
Hopefully, that was just a bug.
But I don't know if it crashed on me or my PC was trying to update something. So, I don't want to,
Yeah, that's the thing. It crashed on you once. You might want to look into how come.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't know if it was a crash or if it was my PC was trying to upgrade something. Anyway, that's my opinion. I guess we can finally get to A-hole of the week. So, who wants to go first? Or does anyone have anyone they want to nominate?
I think I'm gonna have my shots fired.
All right.
Emily Rogers.
Why?
John, it's that time of year again, and she's making all these Switch Pro rumors. Oh, brother.
All right.
Whatever. It's E3. You're gonna have rumors.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
that just kind of happens,
If anything, I was hoping that I at least not have to listen to that for one year.
And to be fair,
they're annoying, but I just don't pay attention to them.
And to be fair,
whatever.
It's about time that, Nintendo, for them, even though they call the Switch their next console, they treat it more like a handheld. And like 4 or 5 years into their handheld, they tend to start releasing hardware revisions. That's just what they do. So, I would not be surprised if there's a hardware revision for the Switch. And I don't mean like a slim. I mean the jump between the Game Boy to the Game Boy Color, or the jump between the DS to the DSi, or the 3DS to the new 3DS, something like that. So, but the people who keep on calling it the Switch Pro like it's going to be this really powerful super console. I'm like, well, if that happened, you'd be spending $700, $800, $900 on a console. And look, this is not the 90s where we had the 3DO that was like $600, $700. No one's going down that road again. So stop with that shit. But anyway, so Emily Rogers, you're nominating Emily Rogers. Kenoshi, you have anyone you want to nominate?
No, I don't. I have no nominations this week, but is Emily Rogers an actual person, or is that just
her nom de plume?
Like the laughing man? Is that just kind of like the laughing man? It's a bunch of people. So happened to run the Emily Rogers account.
How can I put this? I think that Emily Rogers is an actual person, but I think that I think her big thing for the longest time was just she calls herself a game journalist or something, but she doesn't really do journalism. She mostly just does rumors.
Yeah.
But you
Emily
know.
Rogers sounds like an alien. It sounds like a pen name.
Well, it
just
could be
sounds
her
like an
nom de
alias.
plume, but like, I've also seen Emily Rogers write articles and shit. So, I don't know. But it is what it is. Okay, I'm nominating two people. The first one is Yves Guillemot. Because
Ubisoft again.
yeah, it's Ubisoft. Because
I was trying to evade the easy one.
there is no way on God's green earth that you run a multi-billion-dollar company and you aren't aware of major fuck-ups like what was going on at Ubisoft. Like, if Yves Guillemot can say with a straight face that he didn't know what was going on, then he is either the most fucking naive person on planet Earth or he's an idiot. And if he's that stupid and that naive, he doesn't need to be running that company.
I was gonna say, it makes me wonder who's been giving him his news.
It's impossible. It's like, well, I didn't know. There's no way you did not know that. Okay?
Yeah, because there's no way in this solar system that you could get away with not knowing certain things in this god beeping Earth.
Okay? Because the thing is like, even in the back, like, when people are promoted, even in the back rooms, people are going to talk about, like shit that's going on, behind in the back rooms and shit. And there's no way that all this shit these people were doing was not coming back to
Haunt.
It wasn't coming back to people in upper management. That's impossible. That doesn't even make any fucking sense. That is impossible. Okay? It makes no sense. It's like whatever. My second nomination is Kathleen Kennedy for Star Wars, cuz once again, how do you fuck up like
a series this badly?
Well, she was in charge of 5 movies, and only one of which was both critically and commercially successful. The other 4 were failures of multiple, on multiple levels.
Pain.
And also, I mean, Star Wars, like.
How do you F up Star Wars?
Like, when I was a kid, you could put Star Wars anything out and people would buy it. Not everyone, but someone would buy it. Star Wars miniatures, Star Wars the trading card games, Star Wars. It was like that scene from Spaceballs the comic book, Spaceballs the coloring book, Spaceballs the lunchbox, Spaceballs the flamethrower, and of course me, a yogurt doll. It's so adorable. Like, how do you fuck that up, Kathleen? She did. So my nominations for asshole of the week are Yves Guillemot and Kathleen Kennedy, and with Jewel going with Emily Rogers.
Yeah.
So
I was trying to evade the easy ones. I really was.
So where do we go from here? Let's vote on it. Emily Rogers, yay or nay?
I would say Emily Rogers, yes, though I think I could decline it.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't really bother me because of the fact that she's kind of a caricature, or this entity is kind of a caricature of the gaming, the gaming community. So it doesn't really matter if she keeps doing what she's doing. So.
I mean, to be fair, all she does is just report rumors. So, yeah. And she's like, sometimes she's right, sometimes she's wrong. It's a 50-50 shot. And even when she's right, like half of the times when she's right, she doesn't have the details right. So it's like still not really 100% right. So, I'm not really impressed. Is what I'm saying. The second nomination is Yves Guillemot for basically putting out one of those, I'm a serious CEO, we're taking this seriously, serious, there's a PR firm that makes these people do this and all of them look the same. For trying to make it seem like we're serious about tamping down on this for people that you promoted, and there's no way you didn't fucking know that they were doing this shit. I mean, it's a really hard case. Yay or nay, Yves. Yves Guillemot.
I would give it to Yeez.
All right.
Yeah, I would too. Yeah.
Okay, then I guess Kathleen Kennedy is out because I'm going with Yves too. So unanimous once again. Ubisoft asshole of the week.
I tried to find someone that wasn't obvious, since we would bash Ubisoft to flush their it down, but oh boy, they keep on rising back up.
Look, when you fucking up, you can't sweep when people are fucking up under the rug. You fucking up.
It's like Ubisoft is like a bad toilet. They keep on making beep come back up. And sorry for the analogy, because that's how it seems to be to me.
Well, fucked up. So, yeah, so Ubisoft once again has gotten our asshole of the week. This is 3 weeks in a row that they have gotten the asshole of the week. And I'm just going to say it right now. They are definitely a contender for asshole of the year. And we're like halfway, we're not even halfway through the year yet.
We're about to hit the halfway mark.
We're about to hit the halfway mark Tuesday, but Ubisoft already, we're not even halfway through the year. They are already a contender for asshole of the year. And we're not even halfway through the year. So I don't know who can take up the mantle and to be a contender against Ubisoft. I mean,
EA is the only one I think of that could even do this kind of F up.
But I don't think EA could. I don't think there's nothing EA could do to fuck up as much as Ubisoft has. Like they would have to come out with, hey, we've been sexually harassing our female employees for years too. Really, one of our directors pulled out his dick and slapped her in the face with it. Like that's the only way. And we have a recording of him saying that. Like the guy at Ubisoft said that this woman was getting on his mind and she needed to be sodomized until her mind opened up. Well, we got a dude who's worse than that. He said he wanted to rape her and her kids. It's like, oh, that's worse. But I don't think EA could get to that point. Does anyone here think EA could go lower than Ubisoft at this point?
As I said, only EA could catch up to Ubisoft at this point.
Yeah, I don't think they could pull it off. We aren't even halfway through the year, and EA is already a contender for asshole of.
Don't you mean Ubisoft?
Sorry, yeah, Ubisoft is already a contender for asshole of the year. So there we go. That's the end of this podcast. Rate, comment, share, subscribe. Anything you guys want to pimp out before we wrap things up?
Let me give a heads up first to some people. I don't know if we're going to be covering the Electronic Entertainment Expo this year, but if anything, we will cover something of it. But I think that'll be for about next week or two.
Well, 2 weeks from now, it starts on Saturday and it goes to Tuesday. So I guess we can cover it. Cover the beginning and then cover the end, I guess. Cover what we think it's going to be and then cover the end on Wednesday.
Yeah, though, if anything, we could make our predictions and then we could make our see how lucky we are on Wednesday. Sunday we'd make our predictions. Wednesday we see what the results are.
I can't make it.
When is the expo? When is the expo anyway?
It's June 12th to June 15th.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I actually might end up doing something too. That day, maybe I'll try to pay attention to some of it.
I mean, I'm not gonna pay attention to it. We can probably go into it on Wednesday, and like dig down into it, but.
Oh, yeah, I might just what I mean is I might just look at some articles of stuff that was announced or whatever, instead of actually watching it, and just find some the headlines or whatever.
All right.
'Cause I can't be bothered by watching this stuff anymore.
Yeah, I'm
I
not.
don't know how people can sit down and watch it.
Well, to be honest with you, I'm not watching it either. I'm just gonna watch the only things I'll watch is if they have the Devolver Digital conference because I like the Devolver Digital conference because it's funny. Because Devolver Digital knows that this is all bullshit and they just roll with it. I'll probably watch the PC conference because I most of my gaming these days I do on PC. And obviously the Nintendo Direct, I'll watch that. Nintendo E3 Direct. Because I like the Nintendo E3 Direct. There's no reason for anyone here to watch the Xbox conference because everything coming to the Xbox conference is also coming to PC. So what's the point?
Yeah.
There are no exclusives for that console.
I would say the only reason to watch is to see how they try to perform.
Or not perform, choke. But anyway, that's it. So we will definitely do some form of E3 coverage, pre and post. I will not be making videos every night like I've done in past, covering each conference and what I thought about it, because I can't be bothered. I'm not watching that shit. I might do a video about the Devolver Digital Conference and the PC conference, but
okay.
Nintendo, I might just do it that Wednesday, just like live. We'll talk about the Nintendo's conference. Anyway, that's the end of this podcast. Rate, comment, share, subscribe, and
don't forget to hype responsibly. We're about to enter the hype train season.
Yeah. 2 weeks to go before we hit hype madness. So with that being said, that's the end of the podcast. Actually, not 2 weeks. A little over, 2 weeks.
Y'all can be hyped. I'm just, y'all can eat the sugary hype. But,
and then have their sugary crash.
I like having my teeth.
Yeah, I could see that. That's the end of the podcast. Rate, comment, subscribe.